Hello, welcome back for another episode. We are once again welcoming Eisa, who last week told us about the GoPro story. Today we're gonna hear about I don't know what about. All I know, it's a motivational story. So Eisa, no need for introduction. We already know who you are. If you don't know who Eisa is, just go back in last week's episode and check that out. Really interesting person, travel here and there, sold that and this. Um, has a lot of stories to tell, but today we are going to be motivated, and I'm curious to hear what this story is. Asa, up to you.
What's up, Pavel? Thank you for having me on this on another episode. I'm actually really honored to be here for a second time. I thought one time was awesome, but like two times, that's crazy. So thank you so much. I appreciate that, and I hope the people they enjoyed the previous story. This one is gonna be a different story. Like I said, it's more of a motivational story. But do you want me to get straight into it? Jump
I
right
don't know.
into
Are
it?
there any pre-facts, pre-disclaimers, or something?
Yes. So just before we even get to the pre-disclaimer, I want to ask you a question.
Yes,
Yeah. So I want to know this about you.
of
Like,
course. I
do you
love
remember
questions. Go on.
Awesome. Okay. So do you remember a time where you had to adapt to a very uncomfortable situation, and what did you do to deal with that, and how did it turn out to be?
So when you say very uncomfortable situation, straight ahead in my mind comes the end. What are you thinking? Uh,
I don't know.
now that you now that you laughed, I actually thought about a different time. I'm going to tell you that in a moment. So the first time
Okay. Okay.
is 2008, 9, probably 2010, 11. I
Mm-hmm.
am already working in the entertainment business. So I mean, when I say
Mm-hmm.
entertainment, don't think about naked chicks. Entertainment. I was working in hotels. In At that time I was in Bulgaria. So
Awesome.
there is holiday hotels where you go as a tourist, and
Mm-hmm.
you drink, you have sunbathe, the beach is nearby. And there are two types of people. One is lying down on the sun and don't touch me. The other
Oh,
one
okay.
is an active one, like, okay, I'm going on holiday, but I want to keep moving. So we organize table tennis or darts or volleyball, and we just collect the
Mm-hmm.
active ones. In the evening, the leader of the entertainment team will go on stage and be like, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we have a magic show for you." Or it's gonna be, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, Mr. and Miss Hotel. We're gonna make a perfect couple. Who wants to join the stage?" So that's what is happening. And I remember my first show, my first ever show. I go on stage, and oh my god, I am a dancer. I dance Bulgarian folklore for 12 years. For
I've seen
six
I've seen that.
for 6 years I was on stage, so I don't have problems with stage. But when they gave me the microphone, that was a whole different story. And
Mm-hmm.
oh my god, I was so afraid, shaky. I was saying and doing stuff, and as I say and do them, I in my mind, oh, that was wrong. Just
Mm.
so many things. And then the show, thanks so much. See you tonight. See you tomorrow. And then I bow, and then I go backstage, and I just don't want to leave. We have to go out and talk to the people. But I just don't want to leave. And I'm like, ah. So that was really uncomfortable for me. One, the other one that needed to adapt is, we went group of friends. We went to,
So wait, before you jump into the other one,
yeah.
so you adapt. Eventually, you adapted, right?
Oh yeah.
Eventually,
Eventually,
yeah.
I adapted. I I kept going, although it was still uncomfortable. I kept going,
Mm-hmm.
but I kept going so hard on it that I started to like it. I started to enjoy it. I
Awesome.
got better, and I love it. And that's why I started doing videos, because I want to keep doing that, presenting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But
Awesome.
the other time, a group of friends, we went to Alaska to have a work and travel program for 3 months, and then on the way back, uh, we got separated, and I didn't know what happened to them. Did they fly to somewhere else, or are they coming in another flight? And we didn't have any communication, so I slept on the airport, and I was hoping to meet them at the gate, and I thankfully I made them at the gate. I just slept on the airport, and I saw, when is the first. I knew where they were going to Seattle. When is the next
Okay.
flight to Seattle? 5 in the morning. Okay, I wake up at 4 and I go and stay and the monitors. It was crazy. Yeah, but that
That's
was
amazing.
that was very stressful.
That reminds me of the movie The Terminal. Whenever I think about sleeping in airports, that's what I think. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've
Tom
seen it.
Hanks.
It's not that excessive, but yeah, something
That's
similar.
true. That's true. But that's awesome. I'm really glad you shared those stories because literally I want to talk about a story that proves to you, like, or whoever is listening to, the power of adaptation. I
Hmm.
strongly, after this experience that I had in a trip, which is
That
basically
that
during a
sounds
travel
like a
trip.
book title.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Like you should write it. You're the third book after How to Be Happy, The Power of Adaptation.
Okay, go on. Let's
No,
make some content for that book. Tell me the story.
okay, awesome. Okay, let's go. So I strongly believe in this right now because obviously after that experience, like I even whenever I go through an uncomfortable situation, I always look back at that experience. We humans, we have an ability that I don't think anyone else has or any other species has. We are so good at adapting to different environments. Like we had people who live in in the hottest people in the like deserts. We have people who live in Antarctica where it's like freezing, and they're living there and they're thriving, right? So oh, there's an airplane by. I don't know if you can hear the airplane, but
Are you
okay, let's do.
speaking of the terminal? Are you at the airport?
I'm living literally like 10 minutes away from the airport,
Oh
so that's
wow.
why you can hear a plane. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, usually like every 30 minutes you'll hear a plane.
Okay,
Okay,
go
anyways,
on.
back to the story. Sorry for that, but back to the story. So yeah, so the power of adaptation, right? And I was saying that we humans, we have this power. And I didn't know this until this one trip that I went to. If you heard our last previous episode where we I was talking about my trips, I used to go on volunteer trips, right? And one of these volunteer trips I went to was a 2 week trip to Cambodia. And this trip was my second volunteer trip ever. The first one was, it was so outside of my comfort zone, but it didn't have that extreme uncomfortableness that this one had. So I signed up for this trip. I didn't know much. All I knew is that it was going to be marine conservation. So Pavel, if you're wondering now what marine conservation is, it's basically you work on a project that promotes marine life or promotes anything to do with like the marine area in a place. So to give you like more specifics of what we were doing, we were scuba diving every single day and deploying these coral pods in order to promote more wildlife in the on the ocean there and near the area, the pier that we're going to. But let me give you a better overview of what was going on. So basically, we went to Cambodia, right? Cambodia is an island, and it has a bunch of other islands, small islands. So we go to the main island in Cambodia. I forget what the capital of Cambodia is, but we go there and then we take a boat to a smaller island. Now, this smaller island, when you go on the boat, there's a pier, and this pier, you know what a pier is, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So the pier is where these boats come
yeah.
in and blah blah blah. So on this pier, there were people living on this pier, and this is where I was going to be living for 2 weeks on a pier on an island. So not on the island, on the pier of an island, because the pier is like really long, and then in this pier there's like these small little houses, whatever, and stuff like that. So as soon as we arrive, I get confused. I'm like, are we gonna actually live here? Like, I don't understand. Like, yeah, the project manager is like, yeah, we're gonna live here. Yeah, this is where we're gonna stay. I'm like, okay, this sounds interesting. And it's for the first 2 weeks, this is the first day, right? First day, and then they tell me, by the way, Asa, there's gonna be power only for 5 hours a day.
Huh.
So throughout the whole day, there's no power. You can't use your phone. You can't charge your phone. You can't. There's no communication with the outside world. Only for 5 hours you have electricity. That means light only for 5 hours.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, this is going to be tough. But I can manage, right? Light is you can have torches and stuff like that. Not a big problem. And they go like, oh, by the way, Asa, there's no running water on this place.
Oh man.
So washroom is going to be literally you sitting on a hole, and then you do your thing, and then you use buckets to wash yourself. And the buckets are limited. There's limited amount of water, so you can't use all of it and just go shower and go crazy. No, you have to like slowly, shower with it. I'm like, okay, this is insane. And then throughout the first day, I realized that this pier on this island was filled with mosquitoes, like infested with mosquitoes. And I was getting bitten every single minute by a mosquito. Like I'd be like, oh my god, a mosquito here, a mosquito there, a mosquito there. And I'd realize all the locals on this pier, they have no zero bites because the mosquitoes, when they see someone new, it's like fresh blood. It's like, when you,
Literally.
yeah, literally, it's like fresh blood. And so I'm like, oh, they're attacking me and a bunch of other, we were like four people. Our volunteers were like four people this time, like around that number. So there's the issue with the power. There's the issue with the what did I say else?
The
The
water.
running water, and then there's mosquitoes. And then they tell me, Asa, we're gonna go scuba diving every single day. That means you have to learn. But I didn't have my scuba diving license during that time, so I had to learn how to do scuba dive. So learning how to scuba dive is, I don't know if you know this. Have you ever done scuba diving before?
Just snorkeling.
Oh, snorkeling. So scuba diving is actually an intense sport because it uses a lot of your like energy. Like after you've done a dive, you feel depleted. Like you feel like sometimes seasick,
Wow.
your oxygen feels weird. Like it's an amazing sport and I love it so much and I'm so passionate about it. But like it's not an easy sport. It like
Hmm.
you need a lot of let's say mental endurance or physical endurance too. So we're scuba diving every single day. Now, Pavel, like the first 3 days, I'm like, I'm quitting. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna tell them, hey, I can't do this anymore. This was like this experience is like tough, and I wanted to quit. But for some reason, oh, which brings me back to another point. So the food, I didn't even talk about the food. So the food on this island was horrible. It was so bad. I literally ate because it's like I'm not used to Southeast Asian food. Southeast Asian food is a lot of like raw meat kind of stuff. I don't know. Like there was a bunch of stuff that I just couldn't understand. I couldn't eat. I'm a very picky eater too. Are you a picky eater?
Not much. I eat,
Yeah, I'm a.
I eat a lot of things.
You eat a lot. Yeah. For me, I'm such a picky eater. I like chicken. I like like chips and chocolate. Like which I didn't have any of. So basically, I would eat only rice because that's the only thing I could eat. So I'd be eating like spoons of rice and that's it, and I'd be so full. So let me tell you what happened to me during these 2 weeks. So the first 3 days, like I said, I wanted to quit, but for some reason, seeing the people on the island, the kids, because we were working with kids during the island, and there was this one kid which we all laughed at. He's like a 5-year-old, whatever, and we'd call him the naked kid because he'd literally not wear any clothes. He'd just be running around naked, and we'd laugh at him like, "Oh my god, the naked kid is here." But but anyways, like the people on the island, they lived and they're so happy with even though they were living on this situation, I felt
Yeah.
like this is horrible. Like this is like hell. But they were the one of the most positive people I've ever met in my life. Speaking to them, they're so cheerful, coming to me. Thank you for being here, blah blah blah. Thank you for helping out because we were helping their. You remember we were helping their marine conservation. We were even teaching them. We were teaching the kids English, and this was during Christmas. So Christmas was coming. New Year's was coming as well. So this 2 weeks period was between Christmas and New Year's. So we were hitting that time. So for some reason, Pavel, I decided to stay, even though I wanted to quit. The
You
first
don't
week
know. You
went
don't know
by.
why.
I don't know why. I still don't know, understand how I was able to manage the food, the electricity, which I didn't have. By the way, even a bigger thing that was going on, I was recording videos every single day. I was vlogging and I was posting my video during that 5 hour window that I had of electricity. So during that
Wow.
5 hour window of electricity, I was posting a video. And I literally, at some point, because I had data on my phone, I'd be walking around in the darkness because it was like pitch dark at night. I'd be walking around waiting for the video to upload an Instagram video, which was around like 30 seconds. I'd be waiting maybe half an hour for this video to upload because of the bad service.
Yeah.
So I was putting myself under such extreme conditions. By the end of the first week, I remember this time, maybe the second week, when the second week started, Pavel, I was in the best like mental state of my life. Like for some reason, I was just like euphoric. Like uh, I wanted to go diving. I wanted to experience. I'm like mosquitoes, no problem. Electricity, I love the fact that there's no electricity. Running water, yeah, I learned how to actually conserve water. There's a way. By the way, there's this technique, and I recommend you to try this. If you instead of splashing water on you, if you pour it slowly, you actually cover more of your face.
Yeah.
So yeah, which is amazing. I didn't learn. They taught me how to do that. So if you slowly pour water, you actually get more water on your face instead of splashing it. So I'm like, wow, the fact that we have water and we splash it all the time when we're home and we use it as if it's nothing, and these people literally rely on this to survive, and they have such limited amount of it, made me appreciate it so much more. And the fact that what we were doing is parts of the project, we were building these water catchments because they rely on rain to drink water. So they need to collect this rain.
Mhm.
And we built these catchments where there's this structure around the house where it collects the rain. And the fact that I was playing a part in giving back to these people who I started to love, and it's like a community. Again, all on a pier of an island, not even the island, just made me feel amazing. And by the end of the second week, Pavel, like I just remember like feeling so powerful, feeling like how the hell did I survive this experience? I don't know. Like I lost so much weight. People saw me. They're like, "Asa, you look the skinniest we've ever seen you in years," because I wasn't eating.
Just
But
rice.
yeah, exactly. And I felt great though. Like by the end of the trip, I even remember talking to my friends about this. I'm like, the fact that I was able to adapt to this extreme environment just proves to me, like, if you put me anywhere in this world, just give me 2 weeks, I'll be fine. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I'm in a forest. It doesn't matter wherever I am. All you need is mental strength and just the power to push through. Just trying to see the bigger picture of what you're doing. Whether it's like, are you helping someone? Are you there to like build a better life for yourself? Whatever it is, see the bigger picture of it. And I focused on that during the 2 weeks. I was focusing on that. I'm like, I'm here on a mission. I want to not only prove myself, I want to prove myself to others as well. Because again, I was making these videos. I wanted to show people what I'm doing is so valuable. And Pavel, after the trip, there was a girl who messaged me on Snapchat. I remember, because of the trip that I went to, and because I volunteered in that trip, she decided to contact this volunteer organization for medical students, and they were able to fly around 20 students because of me. 20 students to help all medical students on this with this organization to help people in need in a different country. So because she heard it from me, because she might saw my video, and I'm not saying this to brag or anything, but I'm just saying like the fact that when you share these things with others, you don't understand the impact it has. Like, I remember just looking at her message. She's like, Asa, we literally went on this trip because of you. And I'm like, wow, like 20 people volunteered, went on a volunteer trip, medical students, and they helped these people just because I chose to stay on that trip and document it and share it to the world. If I hadn't done that, if I had quit on day 3, who would have known the ripple effect I would have stopped? Like right now, I don't understand the ripple effect that I made because I stayed. So yeah, so basically that's the gist of it. The fact that we're able to adapt to anything, and just because we're able to adapt to anything, it just gives us strength to be able to empower others. And I really strongly believe in this. And because I'm speaking to you about this right now, I kind of like I'm getting encouraged to like hopefully speak to more people about this, because I really believe that it could change people's perspective in their lives. So
Okay, so
yeah.
here we go. If you're listening or watching, you have a podcast, contact Asa. He's happy to join in. So first of all, I have a few things. Let me before I want to share the map, and you can tell me what exactly where. But
Yeah.
just starting looking for that in your mind.
Mhm.
I think, some people say like, "Oh, are you making money from these videos that you're making all this?" I'm like, not much. It's like, why are you doing it? So one, that you are putting yourself out the world, and all these things that I'm just putting outside and on the internet opened so many doors for me. That's one. But two, I'm also getting messages. So I think people that are positive, and doing stuff, I think they're obligated to share their positivity and what they do with the world because of the impact they have on others. We are just obligated. We have to do that.
Absolutely.
That's what I think. So let me share my screen here, and you can tell
Okay.
me. Oh, okay, this is the point where things went wrong. I just shared my screen with including the sound, and something went wrong. I think his speakers were on or stuff like that. But what I just wanted to do, and you can see that from the laugh that you're just gonna hear in a second. But what I just wanted to do is just share my screen and show where Asa went, and you can see that on a video if you are watching the podcast. If you are listening, then next week the video is coming out on my YouTube channel. Let's go back to Asa's laugh.
Can you share screen without audio? I think you can share it without the audio. Okay, so that's where we arrived, the city of Cambodia, Phnom Penh, and then we traveled from there to the island which is called Koh Rong. Yeah, yeah, right there. There we go. There we go. That's the island. Yeah. So I even have a video. I have a video of me. I don't know if you can see it, but this is the when we arrived on that island. And oh yeah, my god, I forgot to even mention this to you. During this trip, I lost my GoPro, which by the way I never found, and I lost my DSLR, which I never found. 2 cameras gone. And third thing, I broke my iPhone screen. By the way, if you know this, if you break your iPhone screen, it causes a lot of problems of you like trying to record stuff, blah blah blah. So just on top of all that happened, 3 bad things happened on the first day as well. And I adapted. Again, you adapt to the situation. The power of adaptation, bro. Just think about that.
Speaking of adaptation, I just throw a quick curious fact here to Asa, and I just, just really want to share it with you as well. Do you know that when you spend a lot of time in water, like you go in a bathtub or you swim in a swimming pool for a long time, your toes and fingers, they get, it is grabby or whatever, the texture changes of your skin. And the curious fact about this is that your body adapts. Your body thinks that you're going to stay underwater or in water for a significant amount of time since you already spent a significant amount of time over there. So your body changes. So if you need to walk somewhere there, or if you need to grab something underwater, you have this grip. So it's just the power of adaptation of your body. And Asa has some additional information here.
And there's something also on the topic of like our body. There's something that you learn in biology as well. It's called sensory adaptation. So all our senses are trained to adapt to certain stimuli. So I don't know if you've heard this before, but like I've been told that our, especially our hearing, we've been adapted to so many different types of sounds that we no longer we خلاص, at this point خلاص, I said خلاص, an Arabic word, which means خلاص means like that's it, that's it. It means that's it. But we no longer hear it. So like the generator is really loud, by the way. But don't you realize that we don't hear it? We don't hear, like when you're sitting at home. There's usually there's generator sounds, but our senses have already adapted so many things that become background noise. Yeah, even light. Our eyes adapt to certain types of light. Our temperature around us, our skin adapts to certain. So sensory adaptation is huge when it comes to a physiological point of view. So we are literally created to adapt. That's why I got addicted to these trips, is because every time I was go on this trip, maybe a month after that trip, 2 months, 3, 4 months after that trip, I'd be in a state of mind that is just like my perspective is shifted so drastically. And and obviously, if you do, like for me, that's what happened to me. I don't know what others how experience it, but like I go on this trip and it's like an adrenaline rush, right? And I am it's amazing, and I all my life has changed, and then I go back home and I'm still like in this state of mind. But like let's say 6 months go by, a year go by, you start going back to your old like comfortable state, let's say. And that's why I kind of got addicted to it. It's because I wanted to always get that feeling again, right? You want to get that feeling of like being appreciative of your life, being appreciative of the small things. So yeah, so the reason why I kept going on these different trips is because of literally because I just wanted to feel that way again.
Up next, I mentioned that locals always, not always, but most of the time, very, very often neglect and, how can I say, take for granted what they have in their area. And they want to travel abroad, experience new things. And oftentimes, visitors, foreigners, people that go and live in a specific place, know more about these places than the locals. Here's what Asa said.
Bro, that's literally, it's so important that you brought this up, because literally the city I'm in right now, Sharjah, I grew up here. I spent 18 years of my life here. And maybe just a few years ago, or like last year, I started to discover places I've never been in this place, in this small city that I've been in my entire life. So that's really good that you bring this up, because literally it's, you can travel within your own city. Some places you've not been, like seeing other spots that you've never been to before, going to that one neighborhood that you never went because you felt like it was whatever, yeah, the opportunity is always there. No, thank you, man, really, like I'm so glad to have had this time with you. And man, best of luck with the podcast. Thank you, Pavel. Thank you, appreciate it, bro. Bye bye.